All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech. Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech. Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech. Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech. Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling.
I can only show you the door.
To awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
Train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say it.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have a calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped. Momentum is
Right?
already here.
Yeah, we'll put it side by side. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning into the True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. I know it's been, we're 15 minutes in, and I'm already reintroducing. It's been a while. It's been a few months. I think it's been like 2 months now since the last podcast where I was talking about the last few months of, not having done a podcast then in episode 75. We're now in episode 76. And by now, I would have liked it to have been already at episode 100, but, everything's a roller coaster. Everything's got to be paced out. But I'm going to be a lot more aggressive on this podcast from here on out. And we're gonna get to exactly what I mean. Lately, in the world, I'm going to stay away from any world politics at this time right now. We're not going to talk Trump. We're not going to talk the United States as a whole for the most part. Maybe bits and pieces of it. I mean, I can't say we won't touch on those things. Also, anyone that's listening at some point in the show that you want to come on, have a conversation, you're more than welcome to. You can also post in the comments section. Oh, and also for another reason, for whatever reason right now, the Rumble link is not working. I tried to. So Rumble has a policy if you're not paying for their app, it's free to stream on there, but I think from my understanding, if you're not paying for you to stream on their service, you can't schedule like a few days ahead. It has to be scheduled on the day of or within 24 hours. Unfortunately, I'm not paying at the moment right now for the Rumble app to do that. So I think I have to revert back to the method that I was doing before, where I just save it the day of. But I know that kind of confuses the other apps that it goes on. But I'm gonna have to figure it out at some point. I was gonna end it and then restart it, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna just post it on Rumble anyway at some point. With that said, I appreciate y'all for sticking with the show and for keeping up with me on the updates, messages, all that stuff. Bringing your ideas on a variety of other topics. I know that I've reached out to other people to have guests to come on here, and I'm going to do that. That's still going to be a thing. But in recent days, in the last week or so, if you have me on Facebook, you'll notice. If you have me on Instagram as well, I think I even posted on there using using the picture. That's where's that? Right there. And surprisingly, I guess to my surprise, there's been quite a bit of feedback. Now, obviously, most of the feedback are from people that pretty much know me personally. Although not day-to-day life, rather, but not everyone day-to-day life, but some people have messaged, have commented on a lot of the posts that I've made where, in quotations of, if I were governor of Rhode Island, and then I go into, I guess, somewhat of a rant on various topics. Mainly what sparked a lot of this has been the Second Amendment movement, the anti-Second Amendment movement being committed by our state, by the state of Rhode Island, by officials in the state of Rhode Island. I'm not even going to go in the depth right now to mention names, because at this point, it doesn't matter who's been doing it and who's been putting these arbitrary laws that are anti-Second Amendment, anti-constitutional. The key words there is anti-constitutional. And so I've had some conversations online about this where I said part of the post. In fact, maybe I can go to the I think I can pull up the actual post. So give me a second here. Because I was talking about I've talked about the Second Amendment, I've talked about childcare, I've talked about jailing people or implying very literally that some people need to start, being looked at as offenders of the Constitution. Because I do think that I know that the people of Rhode Island have had their civil liberties and their civil rights violated by these laws. And people, when your mind just moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I don't know if anyone else has that issue like I do. I guess I can call it an issue. Some people say it's a superpower because it's like you could just start boop, 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 connecting dots. It's to the point where there's so much information in here that I want to spill out, and I want to do it as articulately and as I want it to come across as understanding as possible. I'm not saying that the audience that I'm talking to, that you're slow to understand. What I'm saying is I want to say it to where I'm making sure that I'm crossing all my dots and T's and all that stuff, question marks, exclamation points. And it's not to say that I'm not trying to say it straight up. What I mean is I want to articulate this the correct way so people understand what's happened, what is not only happening to them, but what has happened to them for decades. This isn't just in recent. I'm not, this isn't just coming from somewhere like, oh, they just banned the sales of rifles, so-called their definition of assault weapons, right? Assault rifles. No such thing as an assault rifle. Rifles don't assault. The person who's behind the rifle does the assaulting. And it's only an assault if it's in an offense rather than a defense. But semantics. Bottom line is that there's been laws implemented, and there are laws implemented. Laws, okay, not constitutional. Laws and policies implemented into legislation that specifically go against the rights of a free people, the rights of Rhode Islanders. And I'm speaking of Rhode Island specifically because as a governor, there would be control on how to not only change the so-called law, but to empower the people to understand what their constitutional rights are, what their Bill of Rights are, what their civil liberties are. I'm still looking for the post here because it was like one of the first posts that I made, and it started making a little bit of noise. A lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there's been people that have commented or liked. And yeah, see, I've talked about school curriculum also. Like I wasn't even just speaking on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, it's very important. It's probably the hotter of the most topics because in terms of the Constitution, in terms of your rights and your civil liberties, because the intention of that constitutional right, not a privilege, of that right is to safeguard and protect all of your other rights, your freedom of speech. Your freedom of speech protects the Second Amendment because at this moment, so far, we're able to talk about it. We're able to protest about it. We're able to have a podcast about it. We're able to potentially get a candidate or make waves enough for a candidate that is speaking on the arbitrary, unconstitutional attacks against your civil liberties, your and my civil liberties. I even talked about housing prices too. We're gonna get to a lot of this, and I'm willing to have conversations with people that think that, you know, whether you think that's that these things can be done or can't be done, and we'll get to it. We'll I thought I posted about it. I could have sworn I did. I posted about so many things in the last few days. Because I mean, I could go off of memory, but I do want to. I want to read what I actually said, though. If I were going, yeah, I talked about flock cameras too. Those are also unconstitutional. Some people say like, oh well, we can't expect to have privacy in public, and that is a good point. Some people I've seen people mention that online, and it's a pretty rollover. Like, they could, you know, I'll just roll over because it can be done in public. The thing is that yeah, you could be filmed in public by anyone. However, the purpose of flock cameras is to actually track your movement. So it's one thing to film in public. So you're in a public setting. It's not like you're following someone when you're filming someone in public or filming a building or taking a picture of a building or whatever. It's a whole entirely other thing when you're actually being tracked. And that's what's another way of saying tracking someone: stalking, following, invasion of your privacy. Because, and yeah, it gets a little bit of a gray area because technically you're still in public, but their argument is that they want to track criminals. So in the same light, and they're saying the quiet thing out loud. They're saying the quiet thing out loud, basically calling you a criminal, meaning they gotta follow you, they gotta track you and your movements. So like if there's something that's going on and your vehicle happens to be, you know, in the scenario and you're seen coming off of such and such street, say in Providence or Pawtucket, and then those flock cameras in unison track you to go onto the highway, so on and so forth, and you're not even the car that they're supposed to be following. Your car may fit the description, but the license plate doesn't, and it's not the correct car. Say you're driving a Honda Civic, a 92 Honda Civic or whatever it is, and they're just tracking the vehicle because the vehicle fits the description, because of color, because of whatever. It looks similar to the vehicle that they're tracking, but it's the wrong plate, wrong person. And this has happened where people have been caught up, held up, even arrested, even as far as being arrested, unlawfully, unconstitutionally, held in jail until they're found out that they're not even the person that they were actually looking for. So, and again, I'm going to talk about police too, because I think this is it right here. Yeah, I mean, I kind of go off. I think this is one of the first, posts that I made, even insinuating a potential, what's the word I want? I guess a potential implication of even running for a governor's seat. Me saying this, I'm telling you right now, like I want to burst in laughter half the time when I put my name and myself in the same sentence. Because for me, it's a completely ridiculous thing. It's probably stupid, honestly. I think it's probably stupid for me to do it. Not because I wouldn't be able to do it, but because of the pressure and of the things that may come with it. However, I do look at it like this, because I conversate with God all the time, and especially the last recent days. And I've had conversations with other people too. Not so much talking about of me doing this, but without mentioning, like, just talking about things like that are like as serious as a governor's seat. You know what I'm saying? Because you're holding a lot of responsibility. A lot of expectation will be put upon you. And I talk to God about things like this, and all I say is, all I know is that if it is in His will and in His plan, so be it. And I'll carry that cross. I mean, I've been carrying the cross that He's given me anyway. So if that's part of it, so be it. And I'll honor that. I'm excited. I'd be excited for it. I am excited for it. But in some sense, my human sense, I guess, is just like, this is ridiculous. Why would you do this? And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that I am. All I'm saying is what I would do if I were governor. So I'm kind of saying, like, look, if people are true and truly want the things that there's someone there that would actually potentially, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, but quite literally risking their life, because the things that I'm about to read off on some of these things potentially would put someone that, if someone was actually in office trying to do these things, they'd be in complete danger, and they would need to be protected. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they would be a believer in God, and that they know that they would be protected by God. That's what I believe. That's what I know. There's been so many things that's happened in my life where there's some kind of divine intervention there. It just has to be. I don't believe in coincidences. Things that happen in my life have been, I'm 40. So it's, even at the times where I wasn't even as aware to God, I can go back in memory and know that God was always there. So I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, and absolutely no fear that God's hand would be on it, if it is in the will of Him, and that's His will. All right? If that's His plan, so be it. And so moving from that, some of the things that I said that I know that has stirred not even negativity. So not necessarily any negativity. Definitely skepticism, which, someone comes out of nowhere and starts saying, like, day one, Second Amendment. And I'm going to use the Second Amendment as an example, because it is part of the main premise of why I would even do something like this, why I would even consider doing something like this. Not that it's the only important thing, but it is one of the main important things, because I feel and I believe, there's evidence and statistic information to back this up, but I am under the suspicion that the state of Rhode Island is vulnerable of attack, vulnerable of being overrun by ideologies and systems that we likely are not ready for, especially because we're vulnerable for very arbitrary restrictions that are upon our civil liberties. Not only that, any of those problems that occur here spill over into Connecticut, spill over into Massachusetts, spill over into any of the surrounding states, and so on and so forth. It becomes a domino effect. I mean, come on, look at New York and look at Detroit, look at California, look at Texas, and Texas is likely probably one of the most freest of the states, other than some of the other West states, including New Hampshire, New Hampshire is basically our Texas on the East Coast, on the Northeast, right? But to put Texas in that same category. And when I say by ideologies, pay attention what I mean by ideologies. And just go look at Detroit, just go look at what's happening in New York, and then cross-reference it what's happening in the UK and France. Okay? Understand what I'm saying here. I don't have to say the quiet. I'm saying the quiet thing out loud. Later on in time, I'm going to say it quite. It's not that I'm afraid to say it. It's just I'm not going to make that the focal point right now. But I'm under the suspicion that Rhode Island, because of our arbitrary laws that are against our Second Amendment, our First Amendments, our violation of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, it is a direct attack on all of the good people of Rhode Island. All of us, you and me. I'm under the suspicion that we are we're vulnerable, okay? And the state's made us vulnerable. Those officials in that state house who vote for these arbitrary laws, they made us and themselves vulnerable to multiple reasons of attack. And that is a concern to me. That should be a concern to everyone that lives in Rhode Island. That should be a concern to the people in Providence. That should be a concern to the people in Pawtucket, or the people in Central Falls, or the people in Warren, Newport. I was going to say Worcester. Eventually, that in Worcester, Mass. That's if you look up Worcester, Mass, they're in trouble too. Mass is in trouble as well. But in Exeter, in Burrillville, in Cranston, I'm talking about the entire state of Rhode Island is vulnerable because of these arbitrary laws. And we're going to get to what Constitution, law, and policy means. Okay? By the way, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a lawyer. Or, I'm not a politician either. But I am a free man, and I don't need to have any of these credentials to understand what the Constitution tells me based on what law, how law is anti-constitution, how some policies are anti-constitution. I don't need any of those credentials to tell me what that is. And matter of fact, I don't need a judge, neither do you, need a judge to tell you what your rights are. No one in the state office, no one in any branch of state office or judiciary office can tell you what your rights are. Only, and granted, and I'll be quite honest about this as well, is that not even the Constitution. I say this lightly when I call the Constitution a piece of paper. I say that very loosely. I'm using the description of what is written on the Constitution. What's important is the words and the articulation of the Constitution, not necessarily what it is written, what's written on it. I'm sorry, not necessarily what it is written on. It is what is articulated and represented within the Constitution that matters. So your right, not a privilege, your right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed is your right. That's what the Constitution says. A judge or no law enforcement or no statesman needs or has the authority or delegation to tell me what that is. None of them. Not for you, not for me. So what's my point? Well, what's your point, True? Because, they hold the laws. They're the ones that control the laws. Yeah. They control the laws. Laws. So you have Constitution, laws, policy. Neither policy or law can overstep the Constitution. There is no compromise. There's no compromise to that. I'm sorry. I see comments in here. I apologize. Shout outs to Christine. Paul Rihanna, salute to you, brother, because you've been in the fight more than anyone that I've ever seen. And you probably made more waves doing what you've been doing as an independent. I mean, you low-key, You've inspired me to even consider some things. I'm going to just be original, and the rest will play out. Potential goober, notorial run. What did Elaine do? Because you said something she did that would be fine. What what comment? If you see this, yeah. What was I saying? I apologize. I didn't mean to get off rip, but shout outs to everybody tuning in. Yeah. So, Constitution, law, policy. Neither policy or law can overstep the Constitution. The Constitution, our Constitution, including the Rhode Island Constitution. Not too many people know that there's a Rhode Island Constitution, and it's identical to the United States Constitution. And neither of those documents, neither of those rights are neither law or policy can overstep them. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, not the other way around. Law is not the supreme law of the land. It doesn't matter. What's my point here is that when a lawmaker, when lawmakers and they put these bills through, such as bans on certain artifacts of a firearm, like making a 30-round magazine illegal and you can only own and have a 10-round magazine. That's Rhode Island, currently law, anti-Constitution. It goes against the Constitution because it's infringing on your capacity to own whatever you want to own that is part of a firearm. No lawmaker has the right and delegation or authority to limit you as a free, law-abiding, constitutional-abiding citizen. If you're not out there creating havoc, endangerment to others, you are within the right of your person to operate and express within the right of your of what the Constitution says. And again, you don't even need the Constitution to tell you what it says. It's your God-given right. It is, you are your own individual. If you're not harming anybody, if you're not damaging any property, if you're not making threats, then there is nothing that withholds you from your from expressing your freedom of the Second Amendment, First Amendment, your constitutional rights, your civil liberties. What I said in the post was verbatim. Here we are. I think this was a shorter post. Yeah. So a Constitution carry for the whole. Well, okay. This was before actually even saying anything, but I will read this. One of my posts was about this because in recent there's been a lot of talks where a constitutional carry nationwide would be put in as law. So here's the thing. We give too much power to government to make laws to enforce rights that we already have, or to lessen or compromise rights that we already have. We don't need laws to strengthen the rights that we already have. Our rights are strong without law. So you don't need a law to say you can't murder someone, because you're not going to go and murder someone. You're an ethical, etiquette, kind, peaceful, want to be left alone human being, right? Am I saying should there be no law not to murder someone? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you know not to use your Second Amendment to go and murder. Murder is an offense, an illegal act against someone by taking their life or harming. It's not the same way. It's not the same thing when you're defending yourself and someone happens, to die because they, wish they were going to harm you. So anyway, I said this post here. I'll read more of what I actually really wanted to get to, but I'll say this too because it's relevant. A constitution. This is what I said on a Facebook post. I said a constitution carry for the whole nation would be bad. It just further strengthens that you have to have a permission from the state/federal government to carry a firearm, what is already your legal, God-given constitutional bill of right as an American citizen. Even the 2A community don't even realize they're bootlicking. Now, that wasn't shade. That's just given reality. I have no problem with the 2A community other than the fact that they hoot and holler for these laws to be put in place that their rights are already strong. It's what's being passed. It's what's being so you're giving legislators the ability to make laws to strengthen the rights that you already have. How does that? How so? Why? What is the sense in that? Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good because it's going to allow everybody that has a license to conceal carry or a permit to carry, and they can carry across the whole nation. They'll never be bothered if they're ever pulled over or whatever. They have a right to do it. You already have a right to do that. Already without a permit, already without a concealed carry license. You do not need a permit or a carry license. You do not need the state to tell you that. You do not need legislators to tell you that. That's the point. And I'm sorry for yelling a little bit here, but it's frustrating to see the 2A community, probably one of the strongest community. I respect a lot of these veterans. A lot of these are former officers, but you know what they really are? You know what they really are? They're free men and women. Free men and women who've been reduced by the state to say, no, you need a CCW. No, you need a permit. Permit is permission from the state to utilize your already constitutional right. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Let me back up here, because a lot of this has to do with conditioning, myself included. You and I have all, throughout our lives, since coming out of our mother's wombs, have been conditioned, indoctrinated, groomed in order to respect law, respect legislators, respect judiciaries. Respect law enforcement. Now, I'm not saying not to respect people who are in these positions. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying go out there and be disrespectful to law enforcement, any statesman or anything like that. What I'm saying is the title has no delegation or authority over you. It has none. Well, true. What about order? What about people, being in schools or being in state public buildings and all that stuff? If people wanted to hurt you, they would. There are already people out there that will. Already out there. They're already out there. Now, right now. Some of them may even live on your street. Some of them may even work with you. Some of them could be, associates, people that you shook hands with or whatever. It's the restaurants you go to. It's the movie theaters you go to. It's the parks that you go to. There's people everywhere that can and will do harm to you. But if there are more of you than there are of them, we'd have a better positioning. We'd be less vulnerable, less, and society would be a lot more polite when it comes to addressing someone in aggressive manners, or violating someone's space, or violating someone's body, with threats of violence, or whatever the case may be, especially women. It's not talked about enough that women are being harassed with violence or raped. The dirty word. One of those dirty words that get you kicked off the algorithm. That's real life. That's real reality. Or let's say people breaking into houses, carjackings. Now, I'm not saying this is a rampant thing that happens in Rhode Island, but it happens. And when the state makes you vulnerable because they tell you, oh no, you have to have a permission. You have to have permission to defend yourself. You have to have permission to carry. Your right. It is your right to defend yourself. And people say, well, we just don't want anybody out there, having a gun. Everybody out there that doesn't need to have a gun has one on them right now. Right now. What is the difference? So your sense of security needs to be more than your sense of liberty. There's a famous quote that I'm going to butcher right now. I think it's Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to butcher this. But one who gives up liberty for security deserves neither. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. I apologize. It's the ADHD mind. And that's my point about what it means. So, and it may be a harsh criticism to the Second Amendment community, but y'all can take it, because it comes down to the reality. That is exactly what it is. Your rights, our rights, have been reduced to legislators telling us that we need permission in order to defend, and in order to have the right to carry, in order to have the right to bear arms. The right, because what part of shall not be infringed is misunderstood. And it doesn't end there either. I mean, it's a well-regulated militia. That's first. We're either first or secondary line of defense when it comes to invasion of foreign and domestic. Anyone that's a foreign and domestic terrorist, right? That's anything. That's anyone. And that means when someone's breaking into your home or trying to take you, or trying to take your car, or trying to rob you. All that stuff. That's exactly what it means. So a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep, the right, which is to keep on your person, to bear arms, firearm, shall not be infringed. So anything that is permit, anything that is concealed carry, permit, whatever it is, void. If I was governor, void. Day one. Someone's going to say, oh, you can't do that. You don't make the laws. The governor doesn't make the laws. You're right. I don't make the laws. I enforce the Constitution. Enforce the Constitution. Enforce the Constitution. Period. End of story. No compromise. Zero. You give them an inch, they take a mile. They've been taking miles for decades. for decades in this state. Decades. Democrat, Republican alike. Decades they have been. And it comes from higher places. If I'm yelling too much, I'm not sorry. I am sick and tired of how this state's been run for decades. Decades. True, what's your solution? That's my solution. Enforcing the Constitution. Day one, this is the scenario. Okay? Check it out. Crazy thought. Crazy effing thought. If I were governor, day one, your constitutional right to carry and keep and bear arms will not be infringed. Any law enforcement, any judiciary judge or of any of the courts, null and void. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a judge. I'm not a cop. Wouldn't want to be any of those. I don't need to be any of those to understand what the right to keep and bear arms means for me and for you. As a matter of fact, you don't even need me to tell you this. You should know this. You need to know this. And look, I can't even say that it's well, I can say it is our fault. It is the people's fault because we let law. It's not even that we let laws go through. Someone in the state house and these legislators can go. They have the right, free speech. They have the right to make these laws and make these bills. They have the right to do that. Nope, I have no problem that they have a right to do that. It's annoying. It's a nuisance. Shouldn't be done. Should be immoral. As a matter of fact, the only part about that is when they're putting it through to try and make it something that oversteps their boundaries against the Constitution. That to me is a treasonous act. It's an unlawful act. It's an illegal act. And I do believe that it's an act that deserves jail time, fines, barred from any level of state office, any level of authoritative office, all levels, jailed, fined, permanent ban on ever being in any state office, any authoritative office, ever. Also, something that I would do day one, any signature that's been ever on any arbitrary law against the Constitution that is specifically anti-constitutional rights, anti-civil liberties, any of those people's signatures that are on those bills that are already active, it's immediate act. It's an immediate threat against the state, against the people of the state, against the Constitution, and you're going to jail. You're going to jail, and you're going to be fined, and then you're never going to have a seat in state office in Rhode Island state office ever. You're not going to represent Rhode Island. You're not going to be. You're done. You're done. Doing anything that is anti-constitutional, anti-rights, anti-Bill of Rights, anti-civil liberties, you are a threat. It's violence. It's state-sponsored violence against citizens, against constitutional abiding citizens. Day one, that's what I would do. All of you. all of you that have signed any arbitrary laws, you taken anything from the you took anything from the top that was from Rhode Island citizens, any of the monies that you've gotten from the Fed that you've taken and put it into your own pockets, you are done. I'm throwing keys away. You're done. Locked away. Fined. Never to be once you do your time, never to be in any authoritative state office, any authoritative seat. You're done. You will never do it. You'll never be in there again. Not for as long as if I was governor, day one, jail, fined. See you later. We're done playing. We're done playing. We've been playing house for decades. As long as I've been alive, as long as I've been aware of all the arbitrary stuff that's going on in this state alone. Never mind the country. Never mind Washington. But in this state alone, we've been playing house. We're done. Done. How many times I got to say it? We're done. We are done. Day one, you do not need a permit to carry. Look in my eyes. You do not need a permit to carry. Day one, if I was governor, alternate universe, if I was governor, day one, all that CCW permit BS, gone. You don't need it. Any law enforcement that tries to arrest citizens that are doing that are following the orders of laws that are anti-constitutional, you're done. Likely to go to jail, definitely being fined, never going to be a cop. You'll never have a place in any authoritative position ever again. Not in this state. Nope. Never. Day one, that's what I would do. Day one. Day one. And this isn't anything that's like anti-police or anti-legislator or anti-state. It is anti-establishment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I don't care about what the establishment thinks that they have control of. They do not have control over you, despite the fact that they do have a hand in the cookie jar, and they have deep, deep, deep hands, deep, deep cookie jars, and all those hands are in it. I dare you. I dare you, Rhode Island, to get a guy like me in there to do the things that I'm saying. I dare you, because I'd do it. 100% I would do it. It'd be and you know, I'm saying this with a understanding that it's easier said than done. Everything that I'm saying is easier said than done. The people of, you know, the people of Rhode Island will go into a struggle, a fight of civil liberties versus the enforcement of law, right? Well, like, true, if you do that, if you start doing that, people are going to think like it's going to become the Wild West. It's going to put people in danger. What less danger are we in right now than we are with these laws? Laws don't prevent a criminal act. Name me a time that law stopped murder. When? Name me a law that stopped people from doing and selling drugs. Name me a law that shows me, or name me a law that stopped people from using guns against somebody else in a criminal way, in an act of murder. Name me that. Name it. Show me. It doesn't happen. You can have all the laws you want. Now, I'm not saying that that some of these laws, like, basically the law should say, like, okay, this is the amount of time that someone should be sentenced for doing this heinous crime, like murdering someone. I agree with that. You murder someone, you should not be in society. Justice should be brought against you, 100%. But what I'm saying is, show me a law that prevents it. Show me a law that prevents these things. So we don't need the law that says, oh, you have to have a right to carry, right to permit, and then we're going to also ban certain things of these firearms, so you can't, you can no longer buy them, you can no longer sell them, you can no longer have them. So so they trickle away. You don't need a permit. You don't need a carry license. Day one, that's done. That's over with. And those people that sign those laws in the place, and I'm talking about not just those laws, all of the laws, all of the policies that are anti-constitutional, day one, you're all going to jail. You're all going to jail. I promise you. You're going to jail. You put a guy like me in the governor's seat, you're going to jail. And you're never going to be in an authoritative office ever again. You're not going to. And you're going to be fined. Extensively. Immensely, you're going to be fined. Because you owe all that, a lot of you people in that state house owe money back to the state and to the people. So what are some other things? Okay, true. We know everything about the guns, blah blah blah. That's great. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, day one, you will no longer need a permit to carry or a license to conceal carry. Your constitutional right says that you have a right to bear arms. All right? On your person, in your home, in your cars, in your trucks, in your place of business, out in public, you have a right to bear arms. There is no more permit to carry in Rhode Island. If I'm in office, if alternate universe, if I'm governor of Rhode Island, I dare you people to vote me in 4 years. I dare you. It'd be hilarious, and not hilarious like, the idea that it's showing my my main page here. I apologize, everyone. How do I make the screen bigger? There we go. We'll do this. I don't know. It'd be something else. I tell you what, it'd be something else. And again, I'm not doing this because I want to do this. I really don't want any of these issues on my life and on my family's life. But I'm telling you right now, this state could be so much greater, so much better, so much freer, so much more. There can be so much more potential that's in this state if all of this cutting of the fat were to take place. If there was someone that would go in there and just look, day one, your constitutional rights are your rights. And there's going to be no arbitrary laws or policies that are going to go against them in the state of Rhode Island. Period. No compromise. We need people. We need people in there that I guess are willing to die for this. I don't know. I mean, I'm not even trying to sound or be hyperbolic sounding, but it's as though that's what needs to happen. And it has to be like all or nothing for the most part, to be quite honest. Some of the other things are, see, here it is. I think this is what it was. So relevant to the rant that I've been going on. for the most part. Another post that I made was if I were governor of Rhode Island, I'd fire everyone. That's the first sentence right there. That's one of the first sentences. And the right to carry per the Constitution would be immediate, day one. I would make sure no constitutional abiding citizen would be charged. All law enforcement would be immediately demilitarized, required to know case law and constitutional Bill of Rights in order to work in the field upon the public. There would be no more stopping vehicles for nonviolent criminal acts, and illegal search and seizures would be criminalized, and they would be stripped of their badge and their credentials, will no longer allow them to police anywhere in the country ever again. Probably the state. Don't know if the ability would be able to. Actually, I think there is an ability to do that. But anyway, any violation of a citizen's civil rights would be punishable by fines and jail. Period. Yeah. Look, you violate a person's civil liberties without any probable cause, without any articulable suspicion, you're done. Bye. You're fired. You'll probably do some time, depending on the severity of the violation. Like if someone is like hurt because of that stupid violation, because of the stupid violation that you committed, right? And look, this isn't any hate towards police. This would make police better. This would make police more respected, more honored, because they're actually honoring the public. The public would look at them like the tradesmen of the Constitution. This would empower police, and it would most definitely empower the public to work with the police, to keep communities safe, to keep communities thriving, to keep communities cooperative and communication. It would align them. Right now, nationwide, not just Rhode Island, but nationwide, police and communities, even pro-constitutionalists are in a divide with police. And it's completely understandable. Look at all the stuff that goes on. At this moment, people could say like, "Oh, there's good police, there's good cops." I believe that there's good people within those sectors, even in Rhode Island. I believe that they're there. The laws that they follow, rather than enforce the Constitution, the laws that they enforce that are anti-Constitution, completely makes that statement null and void. Once you violate a person's civil rights, once you follow a law. So, for instance, if you're a law enforcement officer and you're seeing this right now, and you're more than welcome to come on to this podcast and we can have conversations about these things. If you're a law enforcement officer and you're enforcing a law that is in direct violation of a constitutional right, say the Fourth Amendment, say you're approaching someone on they're on the sidewalk, they're taking pictures in public, they're out with their camera recording, maybe they're doing a story, whatever they are well within their right to do so. You have zero jurisdiction to go and approach that person and say like, "Hey, what do you could talk to them. There's nothing wrong with you talking to them. In fact, I have no problem with you talking to them. I do believe that, well, in a setting where law enforcement, where police are actually, enforcing the Constitution rather than enforcing the laws that are anti-constitutional, I would say having conversations with police are good. At this moment right now, no. Having conversations with police are probably not the greatest idea to have, unless you're someone that knows your rights, unless you're someone that knows your civil liberties, unless you're someone that knows, your Constitution, your freedom of speech, your Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Unless you're someone that is, you know what to say, know what to say. You don't have to speak to police when they're on duty. I would say don't talk. You don't have to say anything to them. So what I'm saying is, if you're a law enforcement officer, police, and you approach someone and then you start asking for ID where there's no criminal act, there's no suspicion of criminal. You can have suspicion, but you have to. But now you have to declare what you suspect that person of. What crime have you suspected of that person? And if you can't identify that, if you can't articulate that, asking for ID is null and void. You have no right. You have zero right. And if I was governor of Rhode Island, any of you doing that, you're fired. You're done. See you later. You don't belong being a cop, being a police officer, because you're not enforcing the Constitution. You're enforcing laws that are anti-constitutional. Now, if there's criminal act and you have evidence of that criminal act, pursue. Do what you got to, do what you got to do within reason, right? But some guy, some hearsay caller says, hey, this guy's, recorded my bill and looks suspicious. Yeah, okay, fine. There's 100 things. There's 1,000 things out there that are suspicious. Americans are suspicious people. Human beings in general are suspicious people. Police are suspicious people. Right? That's not enough to say like, oh, I gotta, your ID. Who are you? What's your ID? Where are you going? Where are you coming from? You got any weapons on you? They don't have to answer any of those damn questions unless you suspect them of a crime. You'd be fired. I'm telling you right now, you'd be fired. But not initially, like unless there are some severe cases, and there are some severe cases, unique cases in Rhode Island. I would backtrack your record. Yep. If I were governor of Rhode Island, I would backtrack some police records. Not some. I would backtrack police records of any incident reports against them. Their lapel cameras. Would I do that all by myself? No. I'd have a team. I'd have a team looking it over. Probably a community team that is like third party, like a citizen. I have ideas floating around about that, but I would have these records looked at, and then consider whether or not you're going to continue being a police officer in this state. Whether you're a state police officer, Central Falls, Providence, you name it, every county, you're getting looked at. Chief, all the chiefs, you're getting looked at. Yep. Day one, if I were governor. Scary thought, funny thought, but it's a thought, and it would happen. That's what I would do. And then I would start saying, okay, there's probably potential in some of these, in some of them. And here's where I empower you as a police officer. You're going to learn very much in depth the Constitution. Very much in depth the civil liberties of free people, of your Rhode Island citizens, of the Rhode Island citizens that you serve and protect. You serve and protect, okay? You're going to know that you work for the public. Your training will be heavily involved in de-escalation methods, heavily involved in approaching mentally unstable individuals, heavily involved in the constitutional rights of American citizens. You will be constitutional enforcers, not law enforcers. Constitutional enforcers, not law enforcers. And you'll be praised for it. You'll be lifted higher for it. You'll be incentivized for these things. All right, you want the best gear that keeps you safe, keeps the public safe. the funding, then do the work. Do the correct work. Do it the right way. You're going to be moral. You're going to be ethical. You're going to be polite. You're going to be stern where it matters and kind where it always matters. You're going to respect the public, and the public's going to respect you. The public's going to respect you. The public's going to love you. If you're a police officer that is a constitutional enforcer, not a law enforcer. And that's day one. Those types of trainings would happen. You're not going to go on public streets. Every single one of you, day one, would have retraining. I don't care if you're a 25-year veteran police officer. I don't care if you're the chief. If you're the chief, you're the one that's going to do the training on your peers. You're going to do it. I'm going to be there watching. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to make sure you're doing it correctly, the right way. You're going to respect the public, and you're going to protect them, and you're going to do, and look, you're going to be honored and praised for it. You're going to be thanked for it. It's not going to make you into Care Bears and Tootsie Rolls. It's going to make you in respectable men and women, strong, ethical, moral, constitutional enforcers. That's what it's going to be. Day one, if I were governor, day one in Rhode Island, that's what I would do. Police retraining immediately. You're going to look. The public will respect you for it. There's no way around that. There's no way around that. And the ones that don't, those are the ones that you'll be able to weed out. Crime will start. Easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. Easier said than done. It's going to be pressure on you. The pressure's going to be on. If I were governor of Rhode Island, crazy thought. Crazy thought. But if I were governor of Rhode Island, day one, this is what I'm doing. A lot of people are going to jail, but a lot of people are going to stay and do the right thing. You're going to do the right thing. I'm going to make sure you do the right thing. I'll show up to every one of those police meetings. I'll show up to every one of those public gatherings, peaceably assemblies with the public and with legislators. All of them. I'll do my damnedest to be at every single one of them for as long as I'm termed for. Yep. The last part of this is any judges and any judiciary powers who violate civil rights inside and outside the court will be fined, jailed, and never again to serve in those capacities ever again. All political parties, law enforcement, etc., will be immediately investigated for child trafficking, drug trafficking, and money laundering. If you want a tyrant against illegal corruption, vote for me. If I were governor of Rhode Island, crazy thought, ladies and gentlemen, crazy thought. What a thought to have. I don't even understand the thought. I really don't. It's damn near you know, I have crazy thoughts all the time, I guess, but it is exactly what I would do. It is exactly what I would do. Without a doubt. And just want to say thank y'all for tuning in right now. I know I've been going off for a little while now. I thank y'all for tuning into The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure you are like, shared, and subscribe. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm getting texts to send. Trying to pay attention to everything. Let's see. Sorry about the dead air right now. Give me a moment here. I have people go. There we go. So yeah, I mean, day one, these are things that I would do, and it'd be a sight to see. It'd be an opportunity. And I do want to say this too, is like God first would be in everything, all of it. You know, I would open up. I'd open up with prayer on the state, and I would talk to the state every day. I would update them every day. The transparency that would come from someone, that would come from me, if it's in God's hands, and His plan, the transparency from me would be unheard of. You won't see it. You won't see it anywhere else. And I'm not bigging myself up to be something special. But you're not going to hear the things that I would say or do by anybody. And I say that because it's completely radical from the grooming and the indoctrination perspective of the constituency, of the viewership, of the citizens. For the most part, it's a complete, I'm gonna flip the temple on everyone's head, biblically, for the most part. I'm not even being hyperbolic. That's exactly how I see it. It's basically, you ever see what is that, Law Abiding Citizen? That movie where Gerard Butler, I forgot the name of his character, but Gerard Butler's talking to Jamie Foxx, his lawyer, and he says, I'm going to bring it all down. I'm going to bring the temple on top of your head, or something along those lines, right? And and obviously, like, he's a father who lost his family from someone that broke into his home. Sometimes probably a typical American that, doesn't expect someone to just run up in his home and kill his family and rape his family. But those are real scenarios that happen every day in America. And he loses it, right? He starts, taking out and again, I'm not saying I'm not saying that's the answer to do things. What I'm saying is that quote, by how I'm viewing the state and how the Constitution is going to be a strict, there's no compromise to it. There can't be any compromise to it. Look at our state. Look, the positions that we're in this state is beyond. And again, it's not even like in the worst case scenario, because I definitely wouldn't want to be New York, and I definitely wouldn't want to be Detroit or California. But damn, we're like right there. We're like literally right there. And the fact that the bills that were trying to be put through of like making a complete ban on their definition of assault weapons. There's no such thing as an assault weapon or an assault rifle. Rifles don't commit assault. The person that uses the rifle commits the assault. It's, and here's the thing. These people that make these laws, they're severely low IQ. They're severely low IQ. I would even question their cognitive functioning. They may seem like they can cognitively function, but they're severely low IQ to make these types of definitions, because they're hoping that you're stupid enough to go along with it. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been stupid enough to go along with it, which is, because a lot of people, for the most part, want to be left the hell alone. They're expecting you not to come out and protest against these things, not to freely assemble. They're expecting you to just roll over when they start making these arbitrary laws. And listen, that's done. That's done with. That is done with. Anything that comes up with that, these so-called laws that come up and get written, the talking about it and writing part about it isn't really the illegal act. It's actually trying to push it through in order to legislate to law enforcement to enforce these unconstitutional laws that threaten and violate your civil rights. Those people who put their names on them, and I'm backtracking. I'm going back decades. So anyone that's still alive and still, involved in office or not involved in office, or you're moved somewhere in the country, expects you're going to jail. You're going to jail. And you're going to be fined. You're going to be, look, because here's the thing. With those arbitrary laws, do you know how many people's lives you've ruined because of that? Let's think about how many victims that are out there over these decades and decades and decades of arbitrary laws that were made. And I'm coming back to specify on the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment is likely the most important civil right, because it protects everything. It protects the freedom of speech. It protects the actual rights that we do have. That is the one right that protects everything. So because why are they just attacking freedom of speech and the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment? Because if they take freedom of speech, well, you no longer can, you can't speak publicly. It's like speaking against the king, and the king's like, oh, dirty peasants, burn them to the stake, hang them, stick the chain and ball to them and throw them into the ocean, throw them into the lake, throw them into the sea. So they can't get that far with the First Amendment and take away that right entirely until they strip completely the Second Amendment. And then, because already right now they violate your Fourth Amendment with flock cameras. Though, again, flock cameras, day one, done. Gone. Bye. Oh, it makes the police officers' job a little easier to track criminals. They're not just tracking criminals. They're tracking you. The AI systems are tracking your data, your facial recognition, your stride when you're walking, your movements, the routine movements that you use with your vehicle. And it doesn't matter if you switch up those routines. AI has already got you. It already has you. Have you heard of Palantir? Have you heard of Google? Have you heard of Elon Musk? Have you heard of Bezos? Have you heard of all of the other artificial intelligent companies? Meta, Facebook. If you're looking at Facebook, if you're looking at YouTube, if you're looking at your phone right now, your camera is taking data for you. And that's where all these another thing, data centers will not come into Rhode Island. Not one. And if there's one that is here or being built here, done. You're not. Bye. We don't need you. Flock cameras, done. Don't need you. I'm okay with, and I'm willing to have conversation about it, because listen, I don't have all the answers. I may be speaking here thinking that, you may be thinking like, oh, what do you have all the answers? Who's this guy? I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to have conversation with the public. I don't even care about the legislators anymore. The legislators do not matter if it's violating the Constitution. Judges want to have conversation. Legislators, lawmakers want to have conversation. Attorneys want to have conversation. Police want to have conversation. Statesmen, whatever seat of office want to have conversation. The public want to have. If it's not anti-constitutional, let's talk. Let's fix this state. Let's fix the housing. Let's fix the energy sources. Okay. Let me go off. Let me go into a different route right here. I was talking about. I made a post, I think, not too long ago, on my Facebook, and I was talking about energy resources. I want Rhode Island, and I want to find the best of the best, either local or wherever in the country, wherever in the world, to help and implement alternative energy sources, sustainable, renewable energy sources. We have the technology. The technology is out there. You've seen people disappear because of it. The technology is out there. You, in Rhode Island, you would be safe. I'd make sure of it. I'd make sure you'd be safe. And this renewable technology, this renewable energy sources would compete with our so-called fossil type fuel energy sources, like what do you know what electricity is run off of? It's not the stupid windmills, the ugly things out there. Those things are gone. I mean, what the like what are those? They don't even produce the amount of electricity. They don't even pay their own bill. It doesn't pay for itself. Okay? It actually uses it, and in fact, it uses diesel fuel. I think it's diesel fuel, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone out there? Shout out. I think I know who that is. True the Wolf. Oh no, the Wolf. The Wolf Echo. Shout outs to you. I think I know who that is. Maybe. He says true for Gov. Yeah, I don't know. In an alternate universe, maybe. Maybe it's a crazy thought. The alternate energy resources would be in competition with Rhode Island Energy, with natural gas. This would force them to come down on their prices. This would force them, because listen, I don't want to take away fossil fuels or electricity, like electricity that comes from Rhode Island. I don't want to get rid of it. Because I want people to have a choice. If they want to stick with Rhode Island, they want to go, whatever. That's good. That's fine. But they need to come down on their energy prices. The amount of prices, the amount of pricing that's going up, they can't even show why they have the price of delivery, where that comes from. What's the delivery? What are they delivering? They're delivering electricity. Okay. Like, where is it coming from? How do you explain the delivery? And then they charge you on top of your usage, right? So immediately, part of the day one process, I guess the 100-day process, right, would be immediate caps. And not just caps at what it is right now or where it would be in that time frame, but it would be significantly lowered. Because it's a multi-billion trillion-dollar company. The amount of money that is made in those companies is, it doesn't make sense to why the reason is of increases of energy costs on Rhode Island citizens. It doesn't make any sense. They could say inflation. These mega companies, these mega energy companies and these mega corporations, inflation doesn't affect them at all. Like, not even a little bit. The pockets of those peoples are so deep, like it's pennies. It's pennies to these people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying like, oh, because they just because someone makes an excessive amount of money that, oh, they got to front the bill. They don't even pay taxes. They don't even pay enough of the tax that you or I do, percentage wise. So like if you're paying a 7% tax on your income and they're paying like a 27% tax on their income, they make astronomically a lot more money overhead than you do. So a 7% hurts you more than their 27% hurts them. I'm not a math guy. I'm not going to go into the math of that. You know what I'm saying? Do some Google research and figure that out. But the ratio between a working class that someone makes under $200,000 a year compared to someone that's making trillions, it's apples and oranges. It's not the same thing. So anyway, energy caps, immediately energy caps. And alternate materials of building materials and all that stuff, cheaper but still stable building materials to bring housing costs down. And in fact, so if you bring energy costs down, and I'm going to eliminate property tax. Day one immediately, no more property tax, no more income tax. Gone. That's done. That's done. Property tax is definitely done. Income tax, we gotta look at how. I mean, I look. Like I said, I'm not the only one with the answers. I'm just saying these are the ideas, but there are a lot of things day one that would be day one, like no compromise. I'm not going to have some advisor tell me like, oh, you can't do that. That's going to day one, especially in the line of the Constitution, especially in the line of energy costs, housing costs. Yeah, day one. What else was there? I think there was like childcare that I spoke of too, which I know is a significant one. Yeah. And I also said like the delivery of the energy would be investigated by a third party. So third party would be like, and the reason why I said third party is because investigated by a third party, I would have a third party investigate it, like a team of a third party that's not state represented. Like they're not part of a they're not in-house in the state, meaning so it wouldn't come bias from me or anyone in the state, and there wouldn't be any cross-contamination between someone in the state that's probably being lobbied by someone from the energy companies, because that happens, and that does happen. That's why they get their stuff increased. When they go to the state and they say, hey, we got to increase, and the state's like, yeah, okay, because someone's fucking, throwing money in their pocket. Excuse my language. Someone's throwing money in their pocket to get lobbied in order for them to increase their energy, their energy costs. Because how many times have people have gone down and assembled and said the energy cost that Rhode Island Energy is causing, people go down and they protest against it, and the state still allows them to do it. So that stops. If I were governor, day one, oh man, it'd be heads would roll. You know what I'm saying? Heads would roll. If I were governor of Rhode Island, renewable advanced technological energies would be pursued for study, implementation, and introduced to old and new constructions of homes and businesses. Just like how internet and cable companies provide fiber wire, the same would be for renewable sustainable energies. We have the technology. The technology is there for it. I also mentioned something along the lines of off-grid options. So you can look just about anywhere. Right now, you can do it. Now, I don't know. I haven't read too far deeply into into what the legislations are in Rhode Island. But again, if it's your property, you have every right to do whatever you want to do to it. As long as it's not going to, destroy it, potentially destroy somebody else's property, it's safe, blah, blah, blah. Up to code. There are some things that, it should be code. You should, and I'm willing to discuss those things too, because a person who owns a home and is paying on that home, one, you should know, there shouldn't be a consistent property tax. Property tax is gone. Okay, you pay property tax once. You only pay tax once when you buy something. So why are you consistently going to be paying? It doesn't make sense, right? Another thing is you should be able to power your home the way you want to power your home. All right. The energy company shouldn't have any say on dictating whether or not they, because in some cases, in some states, the energy companies they dictate whether or not you can like have solar panels. Like if your solar panels and your solar batteries and all that stuff and all the chargers, if those are the sole things that just power your home, then it actually becomes illegal because for some reason the energy companies have a say so on how your home is powered. So for instance, if you cut yourself, so basically, if you cut yourself off from the energy grid, like from the electric grid or whatever gas grid, they don't want you doing that. And that's done. If you're a homeowner or if you're someone that rents out a whatever, you rent out apartments and stuff like that, and you want to power that structure safely with an alternative energy source or energy method, like using big batteries with inverters, and then having solar panels charge those batteries, and that's the sole purpose. That's the sole heart of your of powering your home. You should do that. In fact, that would probably be something that would most definitely be something that I would encourage people to do. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I would push for that is because that would be more leverage in order to make the energy companies compete fairly, have a fair price, have a fair perception of what is needed when it comes to heating, when it comes to cooling, when it comes to having homes, having people pay for these utility bills. If someone doesn't want to pay a utility bill and they have the means to take themselves off the grid, they should do so. They should be able to do that. They should have that choice. Day one, you have that choice. If I was governor of Rhode Island, you would have that choice day one. Because I promise you that it would make it would force energy companies to become competitive. The inflation starts coming down in Rhode Island. Yes, there are some things that we probably for a little while, and again, what I'm saying here is easier said than done. I realize that, but it's not impossible. It's most definitely doable because the technology is out there, the means to do it is out there, the low costs to do it is out there, the expertise is out there to do it. I just want this state to be free. I want the people in the state to be free. This isn't about what I want. It's about what is right. It is about what is right for this state. And, all of these things that prevent us from life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is an insult. It's an insult to people who have died. And I'm not saying like, the forefathers and all that. I'm talking about like even before the inception of America became to be, all of the ugliness that America had to have gone through, or maybe didn't have to go through, but went through in order to get to these points. And it's as though in some places of the nation or in some places of the state there was a buffer zone where there was actual freedom, like legitimately no slavery and legitimately no tyranny, I guess. we're like reverting back to going into that time. And I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that if these arbitrary laws that they have legislators and law enforcement follow the orders of those laws, we are going to go back to that. It's going to happen. Okay, there's ideologies in place that they have, and when I say they, the powers and principalities of darkness in high places, who are operating on a materialistic level in these state apparatuses that want chaos, that want order through the chaos, and complete control. So all of these data centers, flock cameras, AI systems, anti-constitutional laws, the violations of civil liberties, the control of assets such as energy and building resources, all of these things are an act of war against not just American people, but Rhode Islanders. And I want nothing more than for us in this state to be the example for the rest of the country that these things can be thrown out, that these things can be pushed away. We may still have time. I don't know how much time, but we may still have time. I don't know about in 4 years, because apparently if if I do take this seriously, then I guess I should say that people might start expecting to hear my name. I don't know. Our name. And I hate saying my. Like, I feel imposterous when I say that. Like, it's just weird. It actually makes me feel a little uncomfortable, to be honest, in an odd way. Because I don't like attention. I just don't. I don't necessarily like being known in public or anything like that. And yeah, well, true. Well, you're on a podcast. You've done music. You've performed at shows. Throughout your years of doing music. You make a lot of posts that blah blah blah, and it's you talk to a lot of people. I know, and that's not necessarily. I mean, it's me, but it's coming from somewhere else. I'm just constantly compelled in my heart to just to expose the decadence that we face, but also to give some form of I also want to empower and encourage people. Like, look, this is what's going on. There is something that can be done, or at least, here, hey, look, this is what's happening, and that's where I stand with it. And yeah, it may sound radical. It may sound crazy. Totally get it. But it's not. Is it that crazy that you want the state, the government, to obey your constitutional rights? Is that crazy? If that's crazy, then, someone should say, maybe I shouldn't even be talking anymore about this. Maybe I should just do live streaming of gaming. I like Arc Raiders and Hell Divers. I like music. I like talking about other things. Like, maybe I don't have to talk about any of these conspiracy stuff, or maybe I wouldn't even have to entertain the idea of if I was government. Someone out there is going to be like, oh, this guy's just playing around. I mean, sure, but I'm not. Because if I took that seat, I'd bear that cross all day. I would bear that cross. Oh my goodness, would I have fun? I would have so much fun. We would have fun. You and I, we would have fun. Because I'm telling you right now, that's exactly everything that I've said in this podcast is exactly what I would do. Because I think I'm saying the quiet stuff out loud for a lot of other people. Because we know what this system does. The system is actually working. The system is doing exactly what it's designed to do. And I'd really love to throw a wrench in that. It sounds like a good time. If it's in God's will, if it's in his plan, and if he has his hand on that, then, and it happens to be me, I'm not saying it is, but I imagine the potential's there. I don't know. I mean, who am I? Right? I'm a blue collar worker. Okay. I work pretty much in the trade sector. I don't imagine this being anything but difficult. But if that is a cross to bear, then so be it. Because if I were governor, everything that I've talked about is exactly what I would do. And I'm going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep what else is there to do? But to try and have people consider the things that they've been indoctrinated to accept. Like, look, here it is. And I'm going to do my best to go fully aggressive at peacefully aggressive at lawmakers and call them all out for it. You know what I'm saying? From the lowest form of office to the highest form of office in the state of Rhode Island. And I'm going to try and do my best to be as kind and wise as a serpent, kind as a dove to, the Second Amendment community, the anti-Second Amendment community, and come to terms with what's going on with, well, not come to terms, be like, look, this is what's going on. If you're going to continue accepting this, this is all we're going to get. This is all we're going to get. It's either no or yes. I'm sorry. It's either no. No, we're not. We're no longer going to be taking on these arbitrary laws. We're no longer going to be following these arbitrary laws that are anti-constitutional, that threaten civil rights, that threaten livelihood, that increase poverty rather than decrease poverty, right? I mean, the majority of our crime is because we have poverty in this state. And sure, if you start raising energy costs and you start raising and inflating building costs and rent, because if you do that, the prices of rent go up. So it's not even necessarily the landlord's fault. It's the state allowing the inflation to occur and to continue. Because the state has the ability and the capability of researching alternative building methods that are cheaper and even more durable than the common building methods that are being used. The state has the capability, the financial stability to research alternative energies and have them implemented into the state so that it would start competing with already current energy companies. All of that stuff would start coming down. But the state doesn't do that because there's people in the state house that are being lobbied by the energy companies and by the resources that come in and out of this state and by your tax dollars. So they use your tax dollars to oppress you with it. I mean, like, it's like, yeah, I guess common sense isn't common, but and look, I'm not even like trying to say the public's stupid, but I mean, and I guess that's where I guess that's where the wise like a serpent and kind of be kind like a dove comes into play. Because I'm not necessarily trying to say the public's stupid, but I mean we need it's enough. This is enough. We need to wake up and we need to realize what's happened to us, and we need to. It's not even about resisting. It's about like, okay, well that law is unconstitutional, so I'm not going to follow that law. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It's that simple. There is no compromise to that. You don't need a judge to tell you that. You don't need a statesman to tell you that. You don't need a legislator to tell you that. You don't need a police officer to tell you that. If it's arbitrary to your constitutional civil rights, you don't have to follow it. Period. Their laws that they make are just things on a piece of paper that they made in controversy to the Constitution. Where they think that, oh yeah, we could, that's another thing too. If there's lawmakers that are in the state house, these things getting through tells me, and it should tell you, that the majority of them don't even know the law. I mean, don't even know the Constitution. Or don't care. What they're doing is passing these laws based on feelings rather than fact, rather than evidence, rather than moral and ethical value and integrity that is of the Constitution. And when they take the oath that they will uphold the Constitution, they lied. And if you're going to take an authoritative position and you're going to lie like that, yeah, I mean, I think there has to be some type of justice. There has to be some type of example justice. There has to be. First of all, you no longer, if you're a legislator, if you're a police officer, if you're a governor, you violate the Constitution intentively, knowingly, that it's violating a civil right and Constitution, yeah, you should no longer ever be in a authoritative seat ever. And if because that you violated the Constitution in those specific authoritative seats, and that actively affected someone's life negatively, violently, whatever, in such a way that has ruined them and their family, you are going to do the same amount of time, or you're going to do the same amount of time as it would for someone that would assault someone randomly. And if that violation had ever resulted in death or severe irreversible injury, you're going to do time for that. If your name is on those laws that are arbitrary, you're going to jail. Some of you might even go to jail for life. Yep. Because what you did is harm people when you did that. And if I were governor of Rhode Island, day one, these are the things that I would start doing. All of those arbitrary laws, everything that violates the Constitution and your civil rights is null and void day one. If True, real name Tim Early, but I would prefer you to call me True, but True would do it day one. Day one. In an alternate universe, and perhaps this might be the alternate universe, where True Early, True of the True Perspective, is governor of Rhode Island. And he has, with the public, made the state free once more. Yeah, it might be some people may think that it's a pipe dream. Who the hell knows? I'm just here to make waves, people. Make waves with me. But yeah, look, Thank you for tuning in to The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Oh, also anyone that's out there right now, if you want to chime in, ask questions, talk. Paul Rihanna, shout outs to Paul Rihanna too. Like, look him up, because I mean, people like him have made significant strides in, trying to make significant change. And people like him are respectable. People like Dan Badandi, people like Will Turbot, people like Nayoka Powell, Armando, the Rhode Island, forgive me, I might be getting this, the Rhode Island Elections Integrity Group. I don't think group is part of the name, but I know it's like Rhode Island Elections Integrity. There's a lot of organizations out there that are trying to make significant movements. The 2A community, but look, the 2A community, look, I gotta level with you. We have to stop thinking that they, whether in Washington or whether in Rhode Island, that them passing laws that sound in writing that they're in favor of the constitutional right to of the Second Amendment. We don't need laws to reaffirm or confirm the Constitution, the Second Amendment. We already have that. You understand? You don't need a law to say, like, you have a right to carry on your person within the country that you are within, or within the state that you live in. You don't need a law to reaffirm that. It's already affirmed in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment. So I get it. It sounds good. Oh, these politicians, they're making the laws. They're going to do it. You got to commit, CC. And by the way, if it's a CCW and permit to carry, already that's a violation of the Second Amendment. I mean, it's a violation of the Second Amendment. So when a politician says, "Oh, national reciprocity," or national right to carry, we don't need the law. We don't need another law. We don't need a law to tell us that. The Constitution already does. The Second Amendment says you have a right to you have a right to keep and bear arms. Shall not be infringed. You don't need a law that says, "Oh, you have a right to reciprocity for your CCW and permit." I don't need a permit to carry. I don't need a CCW to carry. The Second Amendment says that. Now, again, I'm saying this as a common man, right? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I'm not a police officer. And I'm not the governor. But if I were governor of Rhode Island, day one, I would announce that live, publicly, to empower the public. You do not need a permit. You do not need a license to carry. You have the Second Amendment. That is your license. That is your permit. That is your right. And that's that. Point blank. And I've already gone through the list earlier. I was like, anybody, and any legislator, any judge, any law enforcement officer, if you violate that right, if you violate the civil rights of a free person of Rhode Island, or of America for that matter, you are in violation. You will be charged. And if there's any considering if you put your hands on that person and you handcuff them and all that stuff, and you take them to jail because you're following the order of what the law says rather than following what the Constitution says, and you're in violation, that to me says that that's a threat. You kidnapped, so you're gonna get charged with kidnapping. You're gonna get charged with assault. You're gonna get charged with violating civil rights. You're gonna get charged with shit. What else is in there? What else could be there? We'll fish like you guys fish. And again, this isn't hatred towards police, because if you're a police officer and you're a legislator, and you're a judge and you're empowering the Constitution, which means empowering the public, the people, the person, and enforcing the Constitution, the public will respect you. The public will praise you. The public will honor you. And the public will even work with you in order to make sure that we keep these streets safe from people who are going to violate people, from those who are going to use firearms or any type of weapon, or even themselves as a weapon, as an attacker. The public will work with you. And in fact, if you have an armed public, there'd be less of it that don't feel vulnerable. Oh, I can't go through my neighborhood because I don't have a permit to carry. I don't have even a knife is a right to bear arms. That is a right to bear arms. You can have a sword, you can have an axe, you can have a knife. It is your right to bear arms. That's what that means. It doesn't mean just guns. But it does mean guns. You have a right to protect yourself. It's your Second Amendment. It's your God-given right. It's inspired by God, matter of fact. That's why it was written in there. So it's that simple, and I don't know why it comes down to. There's a post that shout out to Crook Rock. He made a post, something along the lines of you can say something to somebody that makes sense and they just don't get it. It's like at that level. Simply put, your Second Amendment doesn't change on the Constitution. And police, I want you to be constitutional enforcers, not law enforcers. If legislation makes laws that are in alignment with the Constitution, perfectly fine. We don't need any more laws, but because the Constitution, if you go out to hurt somebody, if you go out to harm somebody, if you go out to rob somebody, you're knowingly doing a crime that no one knows not to do. Like, you and I know not to go do that. You and I know not to go and hurt somebody. You and I know not to go and rob somebody. That's a violation of someone's rights. So, simply put, if you look at the Constitution, someone violates the rights, then they are charged accordingly. Now, I know the law has to state, this is how much we agree upon of how long, someone should do time or whatever, a fine or whatever it is. That makes sense. But in order to say we need laws that say this and that, can't do this, can't do that, blah, 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 blah. People know not to do things. And if they're violating someone's space, someone's rights, the Constitution is enough to tell you that. I mean, simply put, we don't need to overcomplicate it. You lawmakers overcomplicate things. And this is why we're in the mess that we're in. It's all muddy because of you and because of the public. It's not just lawmakers. The public also allowed this for decades and decades and decades and decades. If you're receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. Yes. So yeah, I mean, that's where I stand with that. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. I will see y'all soon, very soon. Keep checking, keep sharing, subscribing, please. It boosts through the algorithm. And I thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And look, this is not in any way to try and divide the people. This is order. I'm doing this to try and unite the people. I want a united Rhode Island. I want a united republic that understands that the Constitution is your rite of passage. And you don't even need that to say that, because God's your rite of passage at the end of it. But if I were governor, crazy thought, ladies and gentlemen, crazy thought. I know, I get it. It's kind of weird. I don't even know, just saying it out loud. But if I were governor of Rhode Island, these are the things I would do, and I'm going to talk more about it as time goes on. I guess I got 4 years. What a time to be alive. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning into The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe on The True Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. It helps out. I will be back very soon next week. This is going to be a weekly show. And I'm going to keep talking about this stuff. I'm going to just keep talking about these kind of things. I'm going to have guests on here also, of course. That'll be a regular thing. There's many conversations that need to be had. And those are coming. Again, I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Once again, like, share, subscribe on The True Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. The True Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Rumble. And if you're receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. Good night. Love y'all.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind, it is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us had to be brought to the brink. A lot of us here have calling
I can only show you the door.
to awaken others.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Spreading a message.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is clearly
Time is coming.
at a
The train
tipping
can't be stopped.